Curiosity is one of the most fundamental forces shaping human progress, yet it is often underestimated in daily life. From early childhood, people display a natural desire to explore, question, and understand the world. This impulse does not simply fade with age, instead, it evolves. As individuals grow older, curiosity becomes less about touching, tasting, and observing, and more about seeking patterns, uncovering meaning, and challenging assumptions. In many ways, curiosity is the spark that ignites learning, creativity, and innovation. Without it, advancements in science, philosophy, technology, and art would be nearly impossible. But beyond its contributions to society, curiosity also has immense value on a personal level, influencing relationships, self-discovery, and the overall richness of life. One of the most remarkable features of curiosity is its ability to drive learning. People rarely learn deeply when they are forced, but when they are genuinely interested, learning becomes effortless, even satisfying. The most memorable teachers are those who ignite curiosity in their students by showing that knowledge is not a pile of facts to memorize but a network of fascinating ideas waiting to be explored. When someone is curious, they lean forward rather than pulling back, they engage instead of avoid. This mindset doesn't just improve academic performance. It cultivates a lifelong love of learning. In a world where information evolves rapidly, the ability to continuously learn is one of the most valuable skills a person can develop. Curiosity also plays a major role in creativity and problem solving. Creative thinkers tend to be those who ask unconventional questions, challenge what others accept as normal, and imagine possibilities beyond the obvious. Innovation in any field. Whether designing a new piece of technology or inventing an unexpected artistic style, begins with the willingness to explore uncharted territory. Even scientific breakthroughs often start with a simple, curious question: what if this assumption is wrong? What would happen if we tried it this way? The courage to be curious, to accept the possibility of failure, and to explore uncertainty opens the door to discoveries that can transform entire industries or reshape cultural norms. Beyond intellectual pursuits, curiosity enhances interpersonal relationships. When people approach others with genuine interest in their thoughts, experiences, feelings, and perspectives, connections become deeper and more meaningful. Curiosity encourages empathy. By wondering how someone else sees the world, individuals can understand them more fully. This doesn't mean prying or invading privacy, rather, it means approaching interactions with openness and attentiveness. Asking thoughtful questions, listening actively, and showing a desire to understand strengthens bonds and reduces misunderstandings. In contrast, when curiosity fades, relationships can become stagnant, dominated by assumptions rather than genuine understanding. Curiosity also enriches one's experience of daily life. It invites people to notice the extraordinary within the ordinary, the patterns of light in a room, the motivations behind a piece of art, the cultural origins of a dish, or the hidden histories embedded in a city's architecture. A curious person looks at the world with a wider lens, seeing not just what is directly in front of them but the layers beneath. This sense of wonder brings more satisfaction, more joy, and more meaning. It transforms routine experiences into opportunities to learn or appreciate something new. Despite its benefits, curiosity can be fragile. Fear, complacency, and rigid thinking often stifle it. People may avoid asking questions because they worry about appearing uninformed. They may resist new ideas because they find comfort in familiarity. Over time, these habits can shrink a person's world, limiting their possibilities. To nurture curiosity, one must practice humility, the recognition that no matter how much one knows, there is always infinitely more to learn. Curiosity thrives when people accept uncertainty and remain open to change. In the end, curiosity is not merely a trait but a mindset, a way of approaching the world with openness, wonder, and a desire to grow. It enriches learning, fuels creativity, strengthens relationships, and deepens life's everyday experiences. A curious life is not necessarily easier, but it is undeniably fuller. Whether someone seeks to understand a scientific mystery, a historical event, a personal emotion, or simply the way a small thing works, the act of questioning expands their world. Curiosity, in its quiet yet powerful way, is one of the greatest tools a person can cultivate. Resilience is one of the most important yet often misunderstood human qualities. Many people think of resilience as the ability to endure hardship without breaking, but it is far more dynamic than simple toughness. Resilience is not about being unshakable, it is about the capacity to bend, adapt, recover, and continue growing despite adversity. Life inevitably brings challenges, losses, failures, disappointments, and unexpected changes, but resilience determines how individuals navigate these experiences and ultimately what they make of them. It is a skill, a mindset, and in many ways a form of quiet courage. Understanding resilience reveals both how deeply human beings can suffer and how remarkably they can rise. One crucial aspect of resilience is emotional flexibility. People who cope well with adversity are not those who ignore pain or pretend everything is fine. Instead, resilient individuals allow themselves to feel frustration, grief, or uncertainty without becoming consumed by those emotions. They do not suppress their inner experiences, they integrate them. Emotional flexibility means acknowledging difficulty while still making space for hope, curiosity, or problem-solving. It means accepting that vulnerability does not weaken a person often, it strengthens them by creating opportunities for support and reflection. Without emotional flexibility, resilience becomes brittle, like a tree that refuses to sway in the wind and ultimately snaps. Another key dimension of resilience is perspective. People who recover from setbacks effectively tend to interpret events in ways that empower them rather than trap them. This isn't blind optimism or pretending that everything happens for a reason. Instead, it's the ability to see challenges as part of a larger story rather than the entirety of one's identity. A resilient person may fail an exam, lose a job, or experience a painful conflict, but they recognize that this moment doesn't define them permanently. They can say, "This is difficult, but it is not the end," or "This setback hurts, but I can learn from it." Perspective helps break the illusion of permanence, reminding individuals that circumstances evolve, abilities grow, and possibilities reappear even after doors close. Resilience is also strengthened through connection. Contrary to the image of the lone hero overcoming adversity through sheer willpower, most people become resilient because of supportive relationships. Friends, family, mentors, and communities provide encouragement, resources, and a sense of belonging that soften the impact of hardship. Social support creates emotional safety, allowing individuals to process challenges without feeling isolated. Even brief moments of kindness or understanding can reinforce someone's ability to keep going. Human beings are not designed to endure everything alone. Resilience flourishes when people feel they do not have to face struggles entirely by themselves. Another vital component is adaptability. Life rarely unfolds according to meticulous plans, and rigid thinking often crumbles under real-world pressure. Adaptability allows individuals to shift strategies, reevaluate assumptions, and explore alternative paths when faced with obstacles. It is not about giving up on goals, it's about being flexible in how those goals are reached. Adaptability encourages creativity, whether that means trying a new approach, seeking different tools, or accepting that detours can lead to meaningful destinations. In many cases, resilience is simply the willingness to change direction when the old path becomes impassable. Furthermore, resilience is closely tied to self-compassion. People who treat themselves harshly after setbacks often struggle to recover. Resilient individuals, however, understand the importance of forgiveness, particularly self-forgiveness. They recognize that mistakes are part of growth rather than evidence of inadequacy. Self-compassion doesn't excuse harmful behavior, instead, it encourages people to confront their shortcomings honestly while still seeing themselves as worthy and capable of improvement. This supportive inner voice becomes a powerful foundation during difficult times. Importantly, resilience is not something a person either has or doesn't have. It is a skill that can be strengthened through practice. Small challenges, missed opportunities, disagreements, unexpected changes offer chances to develop resilience long before major hardships appear. Each time someone recovers from a minor setback, they reinforce neural and emotional pathways that help them handle bigger challenges later. In this way, resilience accumulates over time, like a muscle growing stronger with repeated use. Finally, resilience is about transformation. People rarely emerge from adversity changed, often they come out wiser, more empathetic, and more grounded. Difficult experiences can clarify values, deepen relationships, or awaken new passions. This does not mean suffering is desirable, but it reveals that meaningful growth can follow hardship. Resilience is the bridge between challenge and personal evolution. In essence, resilience is the art of continuing forward even when the path feels steep. It is a testament to human strength, adaptability, connection, and hope. And in a world full of uncertainty, cultivating resilience may be one of the greatest gifts a person can give themselves. Ambition is often celebrated as a driving force behind achievement, innovation, and progress. Yet despite its importance, it is also a concept that carries complexity, contradiction, and controversy. Some view ambition as a symbol of determination and aspiration, while others see it as a potential source of greed or imbalance. Understanding ambition requires looking beyond surface-level definitions and examining the deeper motivations, challenges, and opportunities that come with striving for something more. Ambition, at its core, is not simply the desire to succeed, it is the willingness to invest effort, accept risk, and grow into someone capable of reaching meaningful goals. One essential aspect of ambition is clarity of direction. Ambition without vision is merely restless energy, but ambition guided by a clear sense of purpose becomes powerful. People are often taught that they need to chase certain forms of success, high salaries, prestigious titles, impressive accomplishments, yet genuine ambition arises from internal values rather than external validation. When individuals identify what truly matters to them, whether it is creative expression, scientific exploration, community impact, or personal mastery, ambition becomes a guiding force that aligns effort with meaning. Purpose transforms ambition from a vague desire into a structured pursuit. Another critical component of ambition is resilience in the face of obstacles. Ambitious goals often stretch individuals beyond their comfort zones, requiring persistence even when progress is slow or uncertain. Failure is not an optional part of the journey, it is an inevitable one. What distinguishes ambitious individuals is not that they avoid failure but that they interpret it as information rather than defeat. These individuals recognize that setbacks help refine strategies, build character, and strengthen determination. In this way, ambition and resilience form a partnership. Ambition provides direction, and resilience fuels the continuation of the journey. Ambition is also deeply tied to self-discipline. Dreams and goals have little room to flourish if they rely solely on bursts of inspiration. The reality of ambition often looks less glamorous. Consistent practice, incremental improvement, and routines that accumulate into long-term progress. Whether someone is training for a marathon, learning a complex skill, or building a business, the day-to-day discipline of effort shapes the outcome more than dramatic moments ever could. Discipline may not feel exciting, but it transforms ambition from a wish into a habit, and eventually into achievement. However, ambition is not merely about individual advancement. It is also shaped by the environments, relationships, and communities around a person. Supportive mentors, collaborative peers, and constructive feedback create conditions where ambition can thrive. Conversely, environments that discourage experimentation, punish risk-taking, or emphasize conformity can stifle ambition before it has the chance to develop. In many cases, the ambitious succeed not solely because of internal strength but because they have access to networks and resources that amplify their efforts. Recognizing this helps counter the misconception that ambition is purely a solo endeavor. Despite its positive potential, ambition can become harmful when it loses balance. An individual who pursues success at all costs may sacrifice relationships, health, integrity, or fulfillment in the process. When ambition shifts from meaningful aspiration to obsession or desperation, it can erode well-being. This is why self-awareness is essential, not only to identify what one wants but also to understand the impact of those desires on oneself and others. Healthy ambition invites growth without demanding perfection, and it allows room for joy rather than turning life into a checklist of accomplishments. Ambition also intersects with identity. People often set goals based on who they believe they are or who they are trying to become. Ambition can be an expression of personal identity or an exploration of potential. It encourages individuals to examine their strengths, weaknesses, interests, and boundaries. In pursuing ambitious goals, people often discover capabilities they did not know they had. Ambition does not just aim at external achievements, it shapes internal growth, revealing more about a person's character, values, and aspirations. Furthermore, ambition contributes to society as much as it does to individuals. Many of the advances that benefit humanity, scientific discoveries, social movements, artistic breakthroughs, medical innovations, emerged from people who dared to imagine something larger than themselves. Ambition fuels progress, challenges stagnation, and inspires collective change. Even when ambitious goals start at the personal level, they often ripple outward, influencing communities, industries, and even future generations. Ultimately, ambition is a complex, powerful, and deeply human quality. It reflects the desire to reach beyond the present, to transform possibility into reality, and to grow into someone capable of making meaningful contributions. When guided by purpose, grounded in self-awareness, supported by resilience, and balanced by well-being, ambition becomes a force that enriches both the individual. The world. It is not merely about striving for more, it is about striving for what matters. Responsibility is one of the most significant concepts guiding human behavior, yet it often goes unnoticed in everyday life. It shapes decisions, relationships, and communities, and it forms the foundation of trust and cooperation. Responsibility is more than a duty handed down by authority. It is a personal commitment to acting with awareness, integrity, and consideration for the consequences of one's choices. Without responsibility, freedom becomes chaos, ambition becomes selfishness, and society loses its structure. With responsibility, individuals gain direction, accountability, and a deeper understanding of their impact on the world. At its core, responsibility begins with self-awareness. Before someone can take responsibility for their actions, they must understand their own motivations, strengths, limitations, and values. Self-awareness helps people recognize the role they play in shaping outcomes, whether positive or negative. It requires honest reflection rather than excuses or denial. People who understand themselves are better equipped to make thoughtful choices, respond constructively to challenges, and learn from mistakes. Responsibility is not simply the act of doing what is required, it is the continuous process of understanding why one does what they do. Another fundamental component of responsibility is accountability. Accountability means acknowledging the effects of one's decisions and accepting the consequences, even when they are uncomfortable. It involves recognizing when one has caused harm, whether intentionally or unintentionally, and taking appropriate steps to repair it. Accountability cultivates trust because it demonstrates reliability and integrity. In contrast, avoiding responsibility by blaming others, making excuses, or ignoring the impact of one's actions undermines relationships and decreases personal credibility. People admire those who own their choices, because accountability reflects maturity and strength. Responsibility also plays a crucial role in personal growth. Every person faces situations where they must choose between what is easy and what is right. Taking responsibility often requires effort, discipline, or sacrifice, but it builds character and resilience. When individuals accept responsibility for their goals, habits, and behaviors, they gain control over their lives. They become active participants rather than passive observers. This mindset transforms difficulties into opportunities for improvement. Instead of waiting for external factors to change, responsible individuals focus on what they can influence and how they can adapt. Beyond the individual level, responsibility is essential for healthy relationships. Friendships, families, and partnerships thrive when each person contributes, communicates, and respects boundaries. For example, being responsible in a relationship means showing up when promised, listening with care, and supporting others through their challenges. It also means acknowledging when one's actions have caused pain and working toward repair. Responsibility in relationships is not about perfection, it is about commitment. Without it, trust erodes and connections weaken. With it, relationships become stronger, more stable, and more meaningful. Responsibility extends outward into society as well. Communities depend on individuals who are willing to contribute, advocate for fairness, and uphold shared values. This includes responsibilities such as following laws, participating in civic life, respecting public spaces, and supporting the well-being of others. Social responsibility also involves recognizing the privileges and resources one may have and using them to promote equity and positive change. Whether through volunteer work, mentorship, activism, or everyday acts of kindness, responsible citizens help build environments where people can thrive. However, responsibility is often misunderstood as a burden rather than a source of empowerment. Some people associate responsibility with restriction, pressure, or obligation. But responsibility does not exist to limit freedom, it exists to give freedom structure. When individuals take responsibility for their choices, they gain autonomy because they are not controlled by circumstances, impulses, or excuses. Responsibility creates the stability and trust necessary for cooperation and shared success. It allows people to pursue goals confidently, knowing they can rely on themselves and be relied upon by others. It is also important to acknowledge that responsibility is not the same as taking on everything alone. Healthy responsibility includes setting boundaries, recognizing when help is needed, and avoiding the trap of overburdening oneself. Some individuals internalize too much responsibility, feeling guilty for situations beyond their control. True responsibility requires discernment, understanding what one can influence and what lies outside their power. This balance prevents burnout and ensures that responsibility remains constructive rather than overwhelming. Another key aspect of responsibility is adaptability. Life is unpredictable, and conditions can change rapidly. Responsible individuals are willing to reassess their actions, adjust their strategies, and update their understanding when new information emerges. This flexibility does not weaken responsibility, it strengthens it by ensuring that actions remain aligned with reality and values. Responsibility is not rigid adherence to a plan, it is the ongoing effort to act thoughtfully in a changing world. Ultimately, the nature of responsibility is rooted in connection. Connection to oneself, to others, and to the broader society. It aligns intentions with actions, values with decisions, and individual goals with collective well-being. Responsibility shapes character, strengthens relationships, and supports calm. It is the quiet force that helps individuals grow.